Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, dear viewer. And let's start. The theme of this recording is how to use the EMVO gateway. Now, let's start with the basics. Before even entering the functionalities of the EMVO gateway, you have to be an OBP to be able to use the EMVO gateway. So for the purposes of this recording, we've created an organization called Floyd EMVO Pharma. And once you've reached step 4 of the OBP portal, step 4 being called technical onboarding, and you want to use the EMVO gateway as your one of your 2 client connections, what you would need to do is click on open, which would then start loading and open up this page with lots of different documents. This then unlocks client connection 1 and client connection 2. These 2 tabs where you can add the tool of your choice. Let's use client connection 2 here as an example of how to add the EMVO gateway or any other tool of your choice. So you have to click on add. It then says select connection. You can choose between a direct connection or a gateway provider. And then once you choose gateway provider, there's going to be a drop down list of the different gateway providers. And the first one on there will be the EMVO gateway. Click on that, click on save and close, and voila. Then what would happen is you would need to follow the steps here, which would be to create the CSR file, upload it, get the certificates, ask for a new session token, and perform the test status metrics. This segment will be done on another recording. The purpose of this one is just to see how the EMVO gateway functions. So this is the EMVO gateway login page. Currently, we're using the IQE environment. So when you log in to the EMVO gateway, you need to fill your tenant ID, your user ID, and the password. In order to get access to the EMVO gateway platform, once you've reached the IQE session token phase of your technical onboarding, you can then send an email to the EMVO help desk and ask them for credentials in the IQE environment of the EMVO gateway, to which they'll reply back and provide you with the URL and your master user and password in order to use the EMVO gateway. Now, once you get the URL for the EMVO gateway, you'll have to put in your tenant ID, user ID, and password. The tenant ID is the ID of your company as recognized by us at EMVO in the EMVO gateway. So I've saved my user ID and my password, and we can log in. If this is your first time logging in, most likely you would need to create your organization. And by doing that, you'd click on create a new organization where you'd have to then put in the PFX file, password, and session token. But this will all be done in another recording. So just to show you how to put the session token in the EMVO gateway, once you've already created your organization, you'd have the eye icon on the right. Click on it. You enter this page where it says view organization with roles and sources and master data. But for the session token, you got to click on the edit box on the top right. Put in the new session token, press save, and voila. You now have a connection to the EU hub after putting in a valid session token. If you're putting in an expired session token, it's going to say invalid session token. So that's where you put the session token. This is where you put the PFX file that you would create upon doing the technical onboarding, and you would put the password link to this PFX file also when you were doing the technical onboarding. Now for the functionalities. So on the first bar, you would have alerts, reports, master data, product withdrawal, and verify pack data. Now, you have to look at uploading information as something that's done in steps. The first step that you do is when you upload product master data, which is the product code. On the EMVO gateway, that is done either in GTIN format or in PPN, which is Germany specific. Now, let's do a test of how that would look like here on the EMVO gateway. First thing you should know is that you've got the option of doing it manually or in file version. So let's do it first in manual. Say we go for a GTIN. I'm going to choose a predefined GTIN that belongs to this EMVO organization. And then here you would have to fill in the different fields such as name, pack size, form type. So let's start with putting in the name, Trent. Obviously, for the sake of this recording, this is all dummy information. And let's say that we are uploading this data to the Belgian NMVS or multiple markets. And then once again, we need to fill the information, putting in the, if it need be, the national code, Article 57, the MAH ID. Now, this is very important that the information that is used for the MAH name and address has to be uniform every time you perform a product code upload. And this should be identical to the MAH information in the OBP portal. And that would mean that it's case sensitive. It's got to be written in the same way. If not, you might be contacted to correct this information later. So save time and stick with just using the same format of how you introduce the MAH name. So once you've filled up all the fields here and the correct markets, you can then send the request. If you get the green check, it means that the upload was successful. And if you get the red cross, it means that it failed. Now, if you want to know why it failed, just below the bar where you have the red indicator of an unsuccessful upload, you can download the file and read there what the error message is. Just in case you aren't aware of what the different error messages are, don't hesitate to open a ticket with the EMVO help desk who can then assist you with the issue that prevented you from the successful upload. So this is how a product master data works. As we said, things work in steps. You've got to first upload the product code, which is in this page here. And then you've got to upload the batch data. Now, once again, we can do this manually or in file format. Since we looked at it manually before, let me give you a glimpse of how it looks like in file format. Click on File. Here, if you click on File, you can look at the templates. You can either download a JSON file template or an XML file template. Personally, I prefer XML. I think it's easier. And just to give you an idea of how it looks like, you click on it, the template gets downloaded. You can open it here and you can make the necessary modifications to match the information that you want to upload. Now, just a note here on the templates, they've combined both the PPN and the GTIN templates, so you'd have to delete one of the two, depending on what is the product code format you're going to use for your upload. So that's how you would do it on file format. But to make it simple here, let's go back to the manual option. Once again, you have to put in the product code associated with the batch. You put in the batch ID and you put in the correct batch expiry. Now, it's important to note that if you put the wrong batch ID, you can change it later. If you put the wrong batch expiry, you can change it later. But know that if there are differences on the information that you upload and on the pack won't be able to be decommissioned as the information doesn't match. So please be aware to put the correct batch ID and batch expiry. Once again, you fill in all the details here. And then on a manual level, you can just put in the serial numbers of your choice. Let's say here we go for this. It appears there. And then you can click on send request. On the file level, as you can see, you can put up to 250,000 serial numbers. If you're going to put in large quantities, it would be best that you use the file format. So you press send, and as showed earlier, if you get the green check, it means that the batch upload with the serial numbers was successful. If you get the red cross, it means that it failed. And if you would like to know why, in order to make it successful, you click on the download option here under the red bar showing that it was unsuccessful. And just to give you an idea, let's have a click here just to see. We see the error message here. We see that it's invalid. And if you aren't sure why this is, contact EMVO help desk. But in this scenario here, we can see that the reason why it failed was because the batch has expired, which means that an upload was attempted with an expiry date that was already expired. And so it was deemed invalid. And the next step now is going to be what we call a pack state update, changing the status of a pack. And on the EMVO gateway, that is done here on the update packs. So let's say that the product code upload was successful, the batch upload with serial numbers was successful, and now you want to change the status of a pack from one state to another. Same thing, fill in the product code, put in the correct batch ID, the correct batch expiry, and you put in the current state of the pack. As you can see, these are all the different statuses that a pack can have. You can go from active to whichever one. Let's say in this case, exported. You put in the serial numbers and you click on send. Now, as mentioned before, green check successful, red cross unsuccessful, and you can see the reason why. What's really important to know here is that you've got to be very careful which state you choose. If you choose destroyed or stolen, this would be a permanent state change that is irreversible, rendering the pack, or if you have multiple packs, rendering the pack permanently blocked in that state, and you cannot reverse that. So be very cautious which state you're using. But if you use a state like free sample, sample, or supplied, you've got 10 days to undo it. And after that, it becomes permanently the status that was chosen. If you choose locked, this is the only one that can infinitely be in the status, and you can undo it at any point in the future. So keep an eye out on which state you choose, because there could be an impact on if you choose the wrong one. That's how pack state updates work. Now remember how I said that if you made a mistake with the batch ID name or the batch expiry, there's an option here called update batch. Here, you've got the option of putting in the incorrect name or the incorrect expiry date, and then putting in the correct batch ID or the correct batch expiry, fill in the information and send request, and voila, you've corrected that information. Now, big thing to know here is that if you've put an incorrect batch ID and you change the name and you change the name to a batch that already exists, you would be combining two batches into one batch. And it's not possible to divide a batch into two. So it's important to note that you have to be very cautious when correcting batch ID information. The recall batch is another option that's there. Word of caution, this is a permanent action. If ever one performs a recall batch, it instantaneously renders all the packs of that batch uh, unable to be decommissioned, and there is no reversal. So this is a very high impact action. We don't recommend it unless you're extremely sure, but be careful because one action here would render the packs unsellable, meaning that all the packs related to this batch would no longer be able to be released in the market. So let's go back to the first bar here. On the bar where you have the master data, you have alerts, reports, product withdrawal, and verify pack data. So after master data, I'd say that on your daily functions, you look at alerts. So let's say you successfully uploaded a batch of serial numbers to a specific market. If alerts are raised from those markets, they come up here. So an alert on the EMVO gateway has to be raised in a national system, which is why alerts have to come up with the country's ISO code. As you can see here, ES for Spain, and I'm sure you'll have many other countries if I keep on clicking. And the thing with alerts is that you can download the alert file and see what the alert was about. So here we have all the information here. You can see the error code here and the meaning of it. It looks like someone triggered this alert in the national system of Spain, trying to perform a pack state update on a pack that was already in the state that was requested. And that's an A7. Now, the product withdrawal is the next one I want to talk about. I highly do not recommend choosing this option because it's a high impact functionality. And if you choose to do it, this renders the product code permanently disabled, can no longer be sold. All batches and packs will directly become inactive. So it's such a high impact tool. We strongly advise contacting us if you think about choosing this option because it can be very costly. If avoidable, please do so. We have an option here called verify pack data. So if you want to know what's the state of a pack, you can use this option here. You can put in the pack and click on the send request, and you'll find out the state of the pack. So let's see the example here. So here we did a test. We looked at this serial number for this product code, and we got the state active. That's basically how it works. Once again, all these options come in manual and file format. And then you can also request reports, product master data, pack disclosure report, pack status by batch report. This can assist you with the different requirements of your organization. And so that's a quick glimpse of how the EMVO gateway works and the daily functions that you might be using. in order to upload data, investigate alerts, and so on. So if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to send a ticket to our help desk. We'll be more than happy to help you. If not, just know that on the OBP portal, step 4.1, you've got a document called the EMVO Gateway Manual, which is here. And if you download it, you have most likely all the answers to your questions for the EMVO Gateway, not live, in this document. But if in doubt, don't hesitate to open a ticket with us. So hope this video was helpful to you, and good luck with the EMVO Gateway. It's a pretty easy tool. Honestly speaking, it's a good tool. It does what is required. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.